It's so funny whenever like a game or a piece of media whenever a game or a piece of media tries to do I don't even want to say try it because like no, it is because the last time I had an experience like this, I guess it was when it would have been Oshinoko, because they also have like a couple chapters that are very focused about streaming. It's okay, right? He just went up into the sky. I'm sure Master Megata's ideal world will meet again. Yeah, because Oshinoko had a bunch of chapters that were also related to streaming, because it also very heavily focuses on the entertainment world. Hang on, I'm trying my best to remember these. Easy. Where it was doing its best to talk about the entertainment world and like how stuff related to streaming, stuff related to YouTube, how certain productions on that still work. Just like Silvercase, and I was talking about the internet in 1999. It's not impossible for media to talk about things like that. And like at the point where we are now, there's a bunch of people like what comes to mind is the performer, the whoever sang the Honeybee Lovely track for 14. Like that's very clearly heavily like idol focused and inspired, but then also connected directly to like modern internet culture, which again I guess a lot of it is also directly connected to idol culture, because now it's just and now it's just all one big kind of circle. But it's not like impossible for games and stuff to talk about these things. It's just very interesting how it keeps changing, because I was thinking of Valhalla just recently, like Streaming-chan, like Streaming-chan also had a very Nico focused gimmick on hers too. And it was like, hey, look, I'm at this really weird bar. Check out these drinks. Hey, get me drunk because it'll be good for viewers. And it's funny how a lot of that kind of still translates and carries over. And then this came out just like this was one of the last chapters. This is the last chapter that came out. So like it's the most current. Like the dude that did the like I'll stay here and keep pulling until I leave home. I'll stay here and keep pulling until I get what I want and then I can leave. Like, no, I've been places. I've been to a place where like one of the streams was somebody doing Genshin rolls, and like that was the stream. It was like that was just it. Like it's so interesting seeing how things like that change and develop, and especially when different pieces of media come out at the time and they're talking about it, because it's all like, oh, that's so old. Like anything that references like the ice bucket challenge, like well over 10 years now. But at the same time, things don't change. Like, yeah, you still do the trendy thing. You still do the thing that, like, a lot of people are focusing on. There's a reason why a lot of people might be streaming a certain Horse Girl game, especially after seeing different people who usually don't stream anime games check that out, and then suddenly get a very huge boost in their viewers. Highest concurrent view count for any of the streams that they were doing before. Maybe there's a reason why people tend to watch those trendy streams or look up those trendy games And like, because they just want more of it, they'll more than likely try out new people to see their reactions, because it's the funny current game. Like, if anything, jumping from things that are like trendy or like focusing on like trends and stuff that are relevant at the time when they're relevant, it will quote unquote kind of date things, because like we don't know how long like gacha games and things will be like around or as poignant as they are now. But no, they've been around for a while. Like, nobody's probably gonna mention like doing an ice bucket challenge these days, but like, how long are people gonna be like doing gacha rule streams? Loot box streams were a thing when Overwatch had them. Like, oh, I spent $500 on Overwatch loot boxes, watch me open them all, and then that's like a YouTube video for 20 minutes, and then those would get like millions of views until regulations and stuff happen, and now you can't do that anymore. Like, it's all trends, but it's just how different eras adapt to those trends and how people change according to it. And like, having the very distinct difference between Yo's very intro streaming and then Hinagiku's very much more experienced, where she has the very cutesy intro. Suki even just being very upbeat and immediately jumping in and like knowing kind of what to do based off of the tips and pointers given to her. Like, no, that's a thing that draws viewers. Very, very important, which is also very interesting. Yo is starting solo instantly. He wasn't on the stream at all. He only got one viewer. It was a troll viewer, and it's like, all right, I guess just try again somewhere else. Whereas Hinagiku is already a popular streamer, and then invited Tsukihi in, and then Tsukihi left a very large impression immediately by establishing herself and then bouncing off of her. Like, that's why collabs are so poignant and useful. Like, even if... yeah, we're going behind a curtain, I guess. Because, like, even if the person that you are collabing with, or the people you are collabing with, are not people that you necessarily stick with consistently, it is that mere exposure effect. It is, oh, I have seen this person before, or like, oh, this is a new person that is new to me, but has this rapport and this relationship with somebody who I do like, so they're automatically more favorable to them. And like, oh, maybe more collab streams with them later, or if they separate, or if they stream at different times, like, because you're more used to that person, or you're more aware of that person even existing, you're more likely to watch that person, which increases their viewer count, which also further draws other people in, because once you start getting a crowd in on people and they start talking about a thing, then they become more interested in that thing, and then it spreads like that. It's... part of it is popularity, but then it is also knowing how to leverage that popularity, and also knowing how to maximize whatever time and attention that you do get. It's very brutal because it is very performance focused. It's knowing how to strike, when to strike, and who to strike with, as well as various other things, such as like upload schedule, streaming schedule, marketing, personal branding, so many other things. Like, it is meticulous performance work. Some people get by a lot more on just their personality. Generally speaking, though, especially in the case of people who are playing characters, it is a performance. You invite people into something. You put on a show for them. You allow them to interact with you. It's not a one-way thing anymore, especially for streaming. It's very interactive. Even in the case where there's too many viewers for people to like read literally every single comment, or else it'll stop the stream like dead in its tracks. Knowing when to interact with viewers, knowing when to comment on certain things, when to ask them certain things, when to like pick out certain ones or certain responses that are very useful. That's why this first few viewers for any initial streamer is so important, because it shows them how you respond and interact with your audience. Because like if you're not fun to interact with, then why would a majority of people watch your streams? Why would they like be entertained by you if you're not entertaining to either be around or even to talk to? You have to be very personable. It is... Part of it is emotional labor, I will say that. But again, it is a very... For as much of the time that you do spend behind the camera on your own, not behind the camera, in front of the camera, like what I'm doing, hi. For as much time as you're spending in front of the camera on your own, for much of it as it is a performance, so much of it is planning, it's calculation, it's ad-lib, it's... Why am I forgetting what the word is? Improv. I'm an actor. I'm supposed to remember that word. Not an actor. Alchemist. I was about to say mistypo. Mispronunciation. We'll go with that. Like there's so many different aspects that go into this, and the ways that different media and mediums like kind of talk about one another. Like again, going back to Oshinoko when I was talking about that, it was very focused on like the stats and the behind the scenes stuff, because that's much more behind the camera and focus stuff, whereas this is very much in front of the camera. And like it itself knows that it's a gacha. It knows the people who are playing this. It knows that there were people who were streaming this. So like that different level of awareness and that different focus changes this section from just being, wouldn't it be quirky if we had a streamer, to something that's like a lot more poignant. Even the fact that they chose the limit of like the daily views that you need to get being 1,000, still incredibly high number, but it is genuinely more feasible and more reasonable than something along the lines of like 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, where people who are not as in tune would probably place it at, because you don't need like 10,000 viewers per stream to be successful. A lot of very successful streamers that I know of like hover around like 50 or higher, and then the high end that I typically also see for other ones, like I guess you can kind of qualify them as mid to high tier, would be like hovering around 500 to 800, and then anything above that, that's like corpo streamers, or corpo VTubers specifically, or like higher than that, like things that like get signed to talent agencies and such. Like it's a very real, it's a very real estimation of like something that is still going to require work and effort, and is very brutal, but is more feasible for the type of setting that this game wants to set the story in, at least when it comes to the city. Let's be more upbeat this time. You're not a Moe streamer though.
どうも黒中陽の最高イケてるチャンネルです。みんなこの場所には来たことあるかな？
Another very, very important thing. Is one, knowing your audience. It is also two, knowing your personality. There's a reason I don't do very high-pitched kind of cutesy stuff very consistently or at all. Because it doesn't fit for me.
今日は特別な許可を得てオールドヘブンにやってきました。どうですこの景色？
He sounds so panicked and trying so hard.
このファンタスティックな光景びっくりですよね。いやー本当にだね。
Who are you?
今回の配信はここまでです。
You need...
やっぱり俺向いてないのかな。
You need to understand.
こういうのは数をこなすことが大事なんだ。きっと多分おそらく
You need to understand your own personality and your own selling points. A lot of people attribute or call that like a personal brand because part of it is a recognizable and digestible, I don't want to say like version of you, but it's a recognizable version of you. Like something that somebody can look at or see for a snapshot and get an idea of who you are. It's kind of like... A mismatch is kind of like using personality B for friend group A instead of personality A, because if you do that, they're gonna either... One, they're either gonna think something is wrong with you, or two, they're gonna think you're a skinwalker. And admittedly... Well, I'll take the mask off a little bit. Admittedly, that's kind of a little bit of my fault? Not fault. It's my weakness, because it is something that, like, I am actively kind of struggling with, because it's something that comes up, especially with my writing, especially the more that I've been working on this, like, side project, where I don't know my strengths. Like, things that I think are... The things that I think are my strengths are not the first things that come to mind for other people who know me, or at least think about me. Because I tend to be very reserved. I tend to hold a lot of those things kind of back. I don't really throw a lot of myself out. Which has made doing a lot of streaming and stuff like this kind of difficult. Not because it's, like, inherently difficult. Like, I'm good at video games. I am relatively knowledgeable, but I don't really recognize or have the understanding of why certain people like me for the way that I am. Like, I feel like I tend to be a lot more reserved in how I present myself in the certain way that I do things. And I think that just ends up hurting me a lot more. Both literally and metaphorically. And like, yeah, you are putting like a face on for performing. You are like becoming a different character. But like a big thing, especially when it comes to comes to corpo streamers, because like, yeah, you make that big debut and then like for a couple weeks you kind of maintain a certain personality, but then more and more cracks form, and it's not really cracks, it's more just like their real personality coming through, and that ends up being what a lot of people like them for. Like, yeah, you make a strong initial impression and people get certain ideas, but then the more that viewers spend time with that streamer, the more those layers get peeled back. You see more of who that person kind of actually is. That's why there's such a strong connection between the image of the streamer That's why there's a very strong image of the streamer like at the outset, but then you learn more about them like further and further on. Like, oh, a very scary and crow themed type of relatively deep voice, older, mature presentation, but then you give that like a couple months and then they're having very honest kind of nerdy discussions about Naruto. And there's nothing bad with that, there's nothing wrong with that, it's just like that's part of the experience. You learn more about these people beyond that surface level. It becomes a more intimate type of experience, not because you're necessarily because you're being parasocial with them or you're inviting them in a certain way. You're kind of just letting yourself peek through more, and you see certain reactions and like people learn more about you, and then it becomes easier to just keep being more and more of who you already are. And then that ends up helping streamers more than putting on like a fake artificial personality. It is a performance, but all because you're performing doesn't mean that you can't be honest. He at least has 2 viewers. He's getting better, but he is still struggling. I'm new to this whole streaming thing and I'm not really sure what I should do. Shouldn't he introduce the popular spot when he's a bit more famous? It's the kind of streaming for cute girls, not necessarily, but it's something for newbies. Keep working hard, keep it up, can't wait for your next stream. He's getting viewers. He's getting like honest fans. He was getting more honest fans, and it was like the one time he was actually more relaxed. Like, this is a really fun chapter. This is a really fun and interesting chapter, and I really want to see how this develops.